Whenever we post content about Usyk and Dubois, our comments are just filled with why not Joseph Parker getting to fight Alexander Usyk.
Because there's 4 belts on the line.
Charlotte Daly of Mousesport Boxing, joined by Frank Warren. How are you?
I'm fine, Charlotte. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Have you won any more awards lately?
Feels like a while since we've caught up.
What's going on?
I know, it's all gone downhill. Look, big news has come out recently that Daniel Dubois will be facing Alexander Usyk.
Yeah.
It's close to a sellout already, and there was a time when people thought that it wouldn't be a Wembley fight, it wouldn't be a stadium fight, and it's kind of proving them wrong. Do you think the fans are finally seeing something in Daniel that they potentially weren't seeing before?
Yeah, I think there were 96,000 people at Wembley to see him fighting and beating AJ. So they see what he is. They're all boxing fans. And he didn't get a great reception going in because most of them were behind AJ, and I understand why. But coming out of the ring, he got a really big cheer. And you know, he's been on a good roll. He's beaten some excellent fighters. And you also got to add the fact that it's Usyk, he's had 7 British fights he's been involved with, and won them all. Controversially, by the way, I must add, with 2 of them. But he's won them. He's considered to be the #1 heavyweight of the 21st century. And this, for me, is a big moment in time for Daniel. It's a historical moment. There's never been a heavyweight unification fight in the UK, 4 belts on the line. And if he was to do that, and I believe he can do it if he wins that, he goes down in British sporting folklore. And he becomes the #1 heavyweight in the world. And he becomes the guy, he becomes the fighter, in my opinion, what they all say Usyk is.
Do you think, though, that people still underestimate him? Because obviously you said there before the AJ fight, people were kind of underestimating him. Even AJ almost seemed to underestimate him a bit. We saw the push with Alexander Usyk and he laughed afterwards, almost belittling the situation. Do you think he doesn't get enough credit from the people that he's facing?
His last 4 fights, he's gone in as an underdog. He went an underdog against Usyk and he hurt Usyk. Whatever way you want to look at it, he hurt Usyk. And I'm not going to go into a big debate about low blows and high blows, whatever. He hurt him, and he knows he can hurt him. And he's a powerful puncher. Babe Miller never been stopped. Undefeated, never been stopped. He stopped him. He knocked him out and showed he's dangerous at any moment in the fight. He did that in the 12th round. And I made that fight because after the Usyk fight, I was annoyed because he could have won that fight. You know, he had him in trouble. There was a break in it. He lost his momentum. The referee got to his head. But that's not good enough. You're a fighter. You've got to focus on that. And we had quite a lengthy talk with the team and everything. And that's why I made the Miller fight, because I knew Miller would get in his head, because that's what Miller does at press conferences. You know, he tries to, you know, he intimidates you. You've seen it with so many different fighters. And he handled it well. And he actually made a couple of little quips himself, where he normally never says boo to a goose. He said a couple of things. One of them was quite a funny response to what Babe Miller said. And the next one was Hrgovic. No one wanted to fight Hrgovic. He was the mandatory for the IBF title for a couple of years. Nobody wanted to fight him. Considered to be the bogeyman in the division. And I knew that game that would be a tough fight. They had history from sparring when he was a young kid, I don't think he was about 18, 19, and he was about 25, 26, whatever the difference is in their ages. And there was lots of stories floating around about that. And I spoke to, at the time, his manager and trainer, Martin Bowers, and Martin's a very, you know, he talks straight up as it is. And what I heard and what I've seen and so forth. So I said, look, I'm going to make the fight. So I made the fight. And those first 3.5, nearly 4 rounds, he was getting caught with some really big shots, and he took them, and he gritted his teeth, and he came back, and he'd done a job. And Hrgovic as well, you know, before that fight, all the stuff he was saying to him, and you know, and Daniel started using language, swearing. I've never heard him swear before. It's quite funny actually, but it was when we did the round table. But the confidence was there. Again, an underdog. AJ's a street guy. he comes from a similar background that I come from. Daniel's not a street guy. He grew up in his family. His dad, zoned in on all these kids to be boxers, the girls and the boys, which most of them have been. And they've been pretty protected from that environment. They're not street kids, if you know what I mean. They're not from that type of background. And AJ, there was times and moments where he said, "You're going to respect me," and all this. And I'm sort of, and he wouldn't have it. And when he jumped up at that round table and said, "Come on, let's go and do it now," I thought, what's going on here? But he's shown what he's about and showed in that ring. As soon as the bell went in the Lion's Den, all the fans there for AJ, he jumps on him and hit him with a brilliant jab. I mean, it weren't like going feeling him out. He took his head off with it, and it set the scene, and he did what he did in the fight. Underdog again. So, for me, whatever anybody thinks, and they're all entitled to their opinion, they think, I believe he will knock him out. I believe he will stop Usyk.
Yeah.
I know he's got the power to do it. And I think it's the first time at a press conference I've ever seen Usyk rattled a little bit. There was a little bit of, normally he's a real, I really like him and the team. I like him. I think he's got a twinkle in his eye. He understands everything you're saying. He plays his little bit of a card, translator, what's he saying? He knows what he's saying. It gives him time to think about what he's going to say. But he's a consummate professional. But he got a little bit rattled there a couple of times, I felt. And so that's only we're months away. So it's going to be interesting, and Daniel's got to maintain that confidence he's got.
You talk about the confidence that Daniel's got, and he's obviously matured a lot, and he's found his voice out of the ring as well. But do you think the next step for him in maturing is almost having that confidence without relying too heavily on his dad? Because we see, even in the Miller fight, his dad came over and kind of gave him a talking.
Well, I put him in the corner.
Yeah, but do you think that now the next step for Daniel is that he needs to be able to perform without having that?
No, I think it's like, fighters have trainers, and some chop and change. Some say with one trainer. For me, what was happening when the very first fight he had with Usyk, when he was going to the ring, as he was walking the ring, you look back at the footage, he's looking round and he's looking for his family. Looking around, he's going, where should we zoned in and go in there? When, in that fight, in that Miller fight, there was a couple of moments in the fight where I see him looking out the ring, and he went back to the corner, and Don's a very good trainer, and Don's there with him, but I could see he was quiet, he wasn't focused 100% on what Don was saying, he was looking and whatever. So that's what I said, get his dad, go and get his dad. His dad was in the crowd, I said, come here. Got his dad, I said, sit, get one out of the corner, put him in there. And I said, Don, I'm not being rude. Everything Don does is spot on. I mean, he prepares him. It's the only voice you hear. That's the voice you hear. Just tell him to say what you want, and he'll hear it. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
And if you look from taking those, suddenly he settled down and started doing what he should do.
It's a secret weapon.
Well, look, whatever it takes. That's whatever it takes to win the fight. At the end of the day, he's the guy in the ring. He's the guy who's going to do it. But it's about building and building and building the confidence levels. Getting him focused. The thing for him is focus. Being focused on what he's doing, not doing that looking round, looking to the corner. Look what's in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah, you brought it up a minute ago, the low blow or not low blow. Is it kind of a convenient controversy for selling a fight, or do you think that it's almost being used to shift the mental narrative that it gives Daniel the edge that, I didn't lose the fight, that this is the reason that happened?
I think it's a bit of both, really. But I also think it's boring. Keep talking about it. It's irrelevant now. You got the record book, you open it up, it says Daniel Dubois stopped. That's it. That's what it says. Lost the fight. That's it. There's no narrative to it. We know what the narrative is. At the press conference, Usyk's manager, said, if the referee hadn't said it was a low blow, he would have got up at 10. Well, he got up at 10, then why did it take nearly 4 minutes? And even when he wanted to fight on, the referee said, no, take your time and give him an additional time. Referee got it wrong in a big way, and he got it wrong before the fight in as much that the referee before every fight comes to the dressing room and he says, "Right, boys, this is how I want. Legal blows are from here to there," and he tells them what he expects of them when he says break and or whatever his commands are. And he didn't mention anything about that. Never. It's all filmed. Never mention it. So the referee, it was what, but everyone said, "Frank, you keep going on about it." I only go on about it because people ask me. If you don't ask me, it's irrelevant. What happened yesterday is gone. It's done. Today, and looking forward to the fight. That's what counts. Mm-hmm. And what counts now is, again, I thought it was quite an interesting thing that it may have been Alex Krasuk or Igis, one of them said, "We're not fighting Daniel the boy, we're fighting Daniel the man." Mm. And that is the truest thing ever.
Yeah, it is seemingly getting under Usyk's skin a little bit.
I mean, so.
Well, Tyson before his fights always tries to kind of win the mental warfare out of the ring. He wasn't able to do that with Alexander Usyk. Everything just washes over him. This is the first time something hasn't washed over him. Do you think we're finally seeing like a little chink in that armour when it comes to the mental side?
I hope so, but look, he's a tough guy. He's Olympic gold medalist. He unified the cruiserweight division. He unified the heavyweight division. He's undefeated. He's a winner. He's come from a country that's been devastated. Boxing, he's representing his nation. And he does it very, very proudly. He's a proud warrior. What I say for Daniel, when you're out, when that bell goes, what you have to do is that very first round, you've got to hurt him. Mm-hmm. You've got to let him feel that power. That's what you've got to do. Not go and feel him out and wait a few rounds. You've got to, as soon as that bell goes, you've got to be the boss, like you did against AJ. You go out and you hurt him, get his respect straight away. And then think to yourself, geez, I've got another 11 rounds of this. Or not. So that's how I see it. And Usyk is, he's a very, very special fighter. He's a very special man and a very special fighter.
Mm. Usyk has the ability to kind of download that information, and we've seen in rematches before that he kind of has their number. AJ tried to come back and outbox him, that didn't work. Tyson Fury as well couldn't get the better of him in the second fight. Why do you think it will be different for Daniel, even if he comes out and tries to stick it on him straight away?
I think it's sometimes it's about the timing, and I think the timing was right for Daniel. I think he is 27 years of age. He's not in his prime yet. He's strong, he's young, he's fast, he's got an excellent jab, and he's hurtful. But he's in with a very, very good pro who knows the business backwards. But he has got to make Usyk be an old man. He's got to turn him into an old man overnight. Mm. He's got to be in there. I'm the young lion. I'm coming to take over. I'm going to take the pride over. It's going to be me who's coming in there and doing it. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a battle of the lions. The both of them in there. Two best active heavyweights in the world. Mm-hmm. 1 and 2. It's never happened in the UK. Look at that, what we're getting.
Yeah. Whenever we post content about Usyk and Dubois, our comments are just filled with, why not Joseph Parker getting to fight Alexander Usyk?
Because there's 4 belts on the line. So unification. You know what I get? Why are these titles? Why are they fragmented? Why is there never one champion? Then you make one champion. Why isn't he fighting Joe Parker? Joe Parker, had that fight happen for 1 belt. WBO have now said the winner, because they're the next time there's a mandatory defence, it will be a WBO mandatory. They've said that it's against Parker. They called it. So the winner of that fight has to fight Parker, not for 1 belt, but 4 belts. Mm-hmm. So he's in a great position, Joe. And Joe's with Queensbury, and we'll give him a fight. He's going to fight probably around August, whilst this is all going on, and then get this big fight out in the way on the 19th, and it'll all pan out, and everybody will be happy, I hope.
Yeah. The other news that's come out this week, we've seen Tyson Fury back on social media. He knows what he's doing. Whenever he posts something, he knows that people are going to bite and they're going to start speculating whether he's coming back or not. Why do you think he does it? Do you think it's the want to stay relevant within the current boxing scene at the moment? Why do you think he keeps strumming this up?
because he has that twinkle in his eye. And people look at what's happened, the reaction he gets. He gets the reaction, he probably sits back down and laughs. He's on holiday at the moment, and when he comes back from his holiday, I'm not going to disturb his holiday. I'm going to, we'll talk, but I'm not going to call him about fighting. That's going to be his choice. If he wishes to fight, he'll fight on. But if he doesn't, so be it. He's been a magnificent servant for British boxing, world boxing, 2-time world champion, done everything that's been asked of him, had some dreadful, dreadful moments in his lifetime, which he's overcome. He's done brilliantly, and he's a very, very wealthy guy. He doesn't need to box for money. If he does box, it's because he's it's because he's a fighting man. He just, I would prefer it that he just enjoys his life. He's got a lot of projects that he's involved with. He's got a good family. But I know deep in his heart, he's a fighting man. When he's in that gym, he trains every day. When he's in that gym, I can imagine him saying, I think I'll do this again. Yeah. We will see.
You said it there about the fact that he's got a bucket load of cash, doesn't need to come back for the money, but a lot of fans think that his teasing is a strategic move to try and get more money. But do you think it's more of an emotional side, that he potentially is still grappling with the idea of being retired?
There may be an emotional side of it grappling, but the teasing has nothing to do with money. Believe you me, whatever the money's going to be, it's going to be. Him and Joshua will be a sit down, working out the purses. That will be done in an hour. I mean, especially with the relationships how they are now between, the teams. That's not going to be a big if that happens. That's not going to be a big issue. What happens? It will all at the end of the day, it'll be about whether Tyson wants to do it and whether AJ wants to do it. AJ is still active, or is saying he's going to continue to box. So he'll certainly want that fight, because it's the fight that never happened, and it's the fight that everybody wants to see, and it's whether Tyson wants to do it. And if he wants to do it, he'll do it.
Yeah. Not as his promoter, but if you had to bet on whether Tyson Fury came back or not, what would you bet?
What would I bet?
Would you say he's in or out?
I think at this moment in time, he's out.
Do you think that
if he is going to come back, big if he is going to come back, I'd much rather he comes back now than in a year or 2 years' time. If he does. But I would hate him to come back in a couple of years' time, because I hate that with fighters who've been out for years and they come back, especially as they get older. It's not good.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do you think the teasing back and forth on social media is kind of putting a bit of a dampener on his legacy, because people get frustrated by the fact that it's like, oh, come on, Tyson, like, this is your 5th retirement or something. Do you think that dampens what he's done?
Yeah, Frank Sinatra retired. How many times? And the fans loved him still.
Yeah, true. So the Anthony Joshua fight would be the fight that if he was to come back, you would want to see him in, rather
I'd like to see that fight. Yeah, I'd like to see that fight. I think that's the first fight. I think anybody would say that they'd want to see involving Tyson and Joshua. It's a natural fight, isn't it?
Yeah. Couple more before I do let you go. We've obviously seen that Jarrell Miller is no longer able to fight, citing shoulder injury for that one. What's happened? Do you know how that happened?
No, all we got, it was overnight. It came out overnight. We didn't see it till the morning. A couple of days ago, and we've had, I think it's arrived today because of the time difference. There's a note in, or a doctor's note in, saying that he's torn something in his shoulder, so he's out at the moment. And it is what it is. So we are working, and I hope sometime today we'll be able to announce the new opponent, who will be world ranked, and Fabio will still carry on and get his wish of fighting at Portman Road, Ipswich. We sold 18,000 tickets already there, so we want to make sure it's a big night for him.
I had a question. I sat down with Chris Eubank Jr. in camp before his fight with Conor Benn, and we kind of discussed athletes testing positive. And he made a comment which I spoke to Eddie Hearn and a few others about. He said if boxers who had tested positive before were banned for life, that over 50% of the industry would disappear. Do you think that that's an accurate?
I don't know if it's 50%, but a lot of people, there'd be some. Same as you did that to athletes. Look how many athletes failed tests and various things. It's a problem, but the only way you eradicate the problem is by having stringent penalties and making sure that they're adhered to. The problem we have as promoters, fighter gets banned for 2 years, or if he's found guilty, get banned for 2 years. 2 years flies by. Normally what happens, time they get to get the case on and so forth, he's served probably 14, 16 months of it already, waiting for the hearing to come up. And for me, that's where the governing bodies need to be strong and do something about it. You want to stop drugs. You want to stop drugs in sport totally. You ban them. You ban them for life. You say that's it. Or we reduce the sentence. You tell us where you got the stuff from. Who told you to get it? Because I do not believe fighters take this stuff unless somebody in the camp is aware of it. And if you're training a guy every day, you're looking at him. You must know what's going on. And that's how I look at it. Was it the old Canadian runner? Years ago, won the Olympics. Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson, right.
Was it 3 times?
Yeah.
I mean, 3 times failed. Gold medalist, great runner. 3 times he failed, and he kept it. In the end, they threw it away. But if you want to stop it, that's it. You do this stuff, you are out. It's done. First ban is 5 years. After that, if you do it again, and if you're a boxer, by the way, 5 years, you killed your career anyway. But you have to make sure that the penalties are there. I'm not here to police the sport. That's not my job. My job, and I have a responsibility regarding, drugs and that bit. And I've been involved with fighters who tested positive, and I've involved 2 fighters in particular years ago, who bought stuff over the counter, a nasal spray.
Yeah.
And were unaware because they weren't educated what was in there. I mean, it was genuine what happened, but they still give them a 6-month ban over it. It's difficult. If you want to stop something, you have to have a penalty. That's probably what I could really rattle on about things like knife crime in London. Knife crime's banned. I'm involved in a charity called Boxwise, and we invest heavily in young kids over knife crime. And we put nearly 4,000 kids through the program up to as yet. It's a 10-week course. They get fed every day. They get, go on a boxing course. They got to respect each other and so forth. It gets kids off the street. It's been a brilliant, brilliant program and well received in amateur boxing. I think we give £750,000 the charity has to various amateur clubs as well to help them run these courses. You want to stop knife crime, you put people in prison.
Yeah.
That's all you do. What is somebody walking around the street for with a knife? A foot-long knife, a machete. Why are they walking around with it? Walking around with it for one reason. Yeah. So you're getting caught. Stop doing that.
But turning that...
The point I'm making is, if you've got the penalties, you can stop this stuff. You want to stop drugs in sport, then you need severe penalties, and that's it.
But turning that back to boxing, though, we're saying about they need to know the consequences, they need to know what's going to happen if they test positive. But we're seeing the likes of Jarrell Miller was going to be fighting Fabio Wardley. People who have tested positive are getting big opportunities. So it's almost doing the opposite, that it's like, you've tested positive, but it's fine. You can either, take the ban or plead your innocence, but you're still going to get the big opportunities. Do you see why
I hear what
that
you're
would
saying,
be
but
problematic?
then the ban's not strong enough, is it? You don't give them the opportunities. Yeah. It's not for me to give them that's for the governing body. It's for the police to police the streets. It's for the courts to decide what they're going to do. I use knife crime as an example. The drugs, it's up to you, Cad. We're pretty useless, by the way, in some of the times how this works out. And I've seen some of the things behind the scenes. It's, maybe, and I don't want to say government intervention, because bloody governments at the moment can't run a bath. But the whole thing is, you have to have consequences. There has to be consequences for the action. And if there's no consequences, which seems to be the way in British society at the moment, for anything, we look to authority, and there's a lack of authority. And a lot of youngsters have zero respect for any authority or whatever. Yeah. And you can't, and you need, if you are UCAD, you are the boxing board of control, you are a governing body, BC, BO and all those people, you are the people who've got to, at the end of the day, make sure there is a consequence for these actions. That's your job.
Yeah.
You're there to, you're there for the low blows, you're there for all, you're there, and you're there to make sure the guys that are in the ring are clean.
Yeah.